Whose cop killer is behind bars as more information emerges about his possible motive. Plus, student protests at Chicago schools prompt a new crackdown against principals and teachers. We'll have exclusive details.
Also coming up, funny money. It's part of a common con game. John Drummond explains how to avoid being taken. And Sylvester Stallone at the Cannes Film Festival telling Gene Siskel about a change of pace for Rocky.
We have a record on Wall Street and more rain coming our way. And Walter's perspective next.
Channel 2, WBBM Television, Chicago.
Live from Chicago's news team. The 10 o'clock news.
Good evening. An accused cop killer is behind bars tonight, charged with murder held without bond. His name, Roman Chavez. His home, police say, was the scene of the crime. Tonight, he is the only suspect. The victims, 2 Chicago police officers, Gregory Hauser, 43, and Raymond Kilroy, 46. Both took bullets at close range. And according to police, this tragedy began with a simple domestic dispute.
Tonight, the question remains, how and why did that dispute erupt in such an explosion of violence? As Channel 2's Elizabeth Vargas reports, police, family, and friends are still searching for answers.
23-year-old Roman Chavez showed no remorse as police led him to court today.
Did what I had to do. That's all I say. I tried.
With those chilling words, Chavez admitted shooting to death 2 veteran police officers last night and fulfilling death threats he previously made against police. Channel 2 News has learned that last week, Chavez threatened to kill several Elmwood Park policemen after they arrested and incarcerated him in February for traffic violations and resisting arrest. Friends say Chavez confided he had bought 2 guns to commit the crimes.
He said that he was going to ambush them and wait for him behind the police station and kill him, the cops that were messing with him. That's about all.
Did you take him seriously?
No, everybody on the bus was listening to him. He was going crazy on the bus, and I just moved away.
Chavez had had several run-ins with police, mostly for minor violations. His arrest records with Chicago and Illinois State Police are filled with warnings he may be confrontational or try to escape. But nothing in those records prepared police for last night's brutal attack. Chavez fired 6 shots at point-blank range into the officers as they tried to arrest him in his grandmother's garage. He then led police on a 5-hour chase. The grandmother had called police because Chavez refused to move his car.
Oh, why did I ever call him? Why did I ever call him? Why did I ever call him? I've been threatening to call him for a long time, and I never did. And this time I called him. Oh, God, what did I do wrong? I don't know.
Florence Zuniga never dreamed her call for help would end in such violence. Elizabeth Vargas, Channel 2 News.
The slain officers are remembered as hard workers, among the best to patrol the streets. Purple bunting hangs over the doorway at police headquarters, a reminder of the department's loss. At the 25th District headquarters, where the officers worked, their commander described them as more than just partners.
These officers have worked together over 20 years. You know, you have a partner, it's more like a family.
They were good officers. They were doing what they were trained to do, respond to calls and try to suppress crime. And they paid the price for responding to this particular call.
Funeral services for Officer Hauser are planned for Thursday. Officer Kilroy will be buried Friday.
There was some other news today in Chicago. A move to give Mayor Daley free rein in selecting a permanent school board is in the works tonight by some of his allies. Last Friday, the mayor named 7 people to replace members of the interim school board, but 8 vacancies still remain. Lawyers for the board have filed documents with the state Supreme Court arguing that the mayor can fill those spots with anyone, whether or not they've been screened by the nominating commission. Channel 2 News has learned that Chicago School Superintendent Ted Kimbrough has ordered a crackdown on principals accused of opposing school reform. As Jim Avila reports, 3 principals and 1 teacher are to be suspended this week for activities surrounding student protests at their schools.
This Friday will be Principal Benedict Notsky's last day at the Spry Elementary School. Notsky's contract has not been renewed, and now he's been suspended for 30 days as part of a school district crackdown on principals identified as opposing reform. Did you, in fact, try to stop school reform or interfere with the local school council here?
No, at no time, ever. I wouldn't do something like that.
Channel 2 News has learned that Superintendent Ted Kimbrough has ordered a crackdown on school staff working against the new local school councils. 3 principals, Notsky at Spry, Dorothy Hogan at Marquette, and for a second time this year, Sylvia Aslani of Pickard, plus 1 teacher from Spry, will be suspended this week for allegedly organizing student walkouts, abusing their power, and printing anti-school council flyers on school property. Superintendent Ted Kimbrough says principals must keep students out of the political wars surrounding reform.
Children shouldn't become involved in a political pawn game. I think kids need to be in classrooms where they can learn. They don't need to be part of demonstrations. They don't need to be part, on school time that is, they don't need to be a part of this whole thing about who's going to be hired and who's not going to be hired.
It's between the community and the local school council. The children are not to be brought into this. That's something that I've talked to the teachers about since this started.
The local school council at Spry claims Notsky and teacher Maria Prato constantly work against the new system. Sources at the school board say these suspensions will send a message to principals that the local school councils are in charge, and if the principals are fighting against them, they're fighting against their bosses. Jim Avila, Channel 2 News.
1 principal, Dorothy Hogan of Marquette Elementary, resigned Friday rather than accept a 30-day suspension.
How to avoid some classic con games. John Drummond reports after a break.
And the state takes action against the driver whose runaway car killed 3 children. Some new details about how a broken alarm triggered a manhunt after a break. The state of Illinois has suspended the driver's license of a man whose car killed 3 children in Riverside. A state trooper today served papers at the Westchester home of James Harrisek. He is barred from driving until a doctor certifies that he is fit to be behind the wheel. Harrisek said he blacked out just before the accident more than a week ago. Cook County State's Attorney Cecil Partee said today that he believes charges against Harrisek are pending.
Mob boss Albert Caesar Taco was sentenced today to 200 years in prison and fined $2 million. He was convicted last December of racketeering and extortion. And during sentencing, the judge told Taco, quote, "The purpose is not to punish you. The purpose is to rid you from society." New information tonight on the escape of accused murderer Joel Davis and alleged armed robber Keith Anderson from the Cook County Jail. Tonight, authorities revealed the 2 men were able to pry open a defective emergency door which never sounded an alarm. The door opened out to a courtyard where the pair apparently scaled a fence that was topped with barbed wire. A security camera nearby was not working. Jail officials blame overcrowding for the escape. They say that there was no room for Anderson or Davis in the maximum security section. The 2 inmates remain at large.
Far from the headlines about jail escapees and mob bosses, there is a crime where the victims are taken for thousands of dollars before they really realize what hit them. It's all part of cons, crimes, and capers. A special report by John Drummond.
This scene from the motion picture House of Games depicts a high-stakes pigeon drop game.
I better get this. I suppose I better get this back to the hotel. Let's just talk about this for one moment.
Most people, though, feel they are too sophisticated to be bilked in a pigeon drop. But as they say in the TV commercial, it could happen to you. The pigeon drop is an ancient gimmick where the con man takes advantage of the 3 G's. Generosity, gullibility, and greed to prey on his victims.
The pigeon drop game is phenomenal. It nets somewhere about $300 million a year.
Shopping centers and parking lots are prime turf for pigeon drops, also known as the found wallet con. The con man approaches the intended victim saying he has found a large sum of money.
I found this here envelope. Could you show me what to do with it? Let's see what's in this envelope. And they would open it up and say, "My God, there's a large amount of money in this envelope."
The con man convinces the victim to hold the money for him until he can check with an attorney to see if they can keep the cash. Soon a second operator arrives on the scene, and the 2 con the victim into putting up some of his or her savings to show good faith. After the victim withdraws a sizable amount of money from the bank, a switch is made. The con men leave with the real cash, and the victim is left with a Michigan bankroll, not real moolah.
It could be just paper, newspaper, cut up to make it feel like it's a roll of money or the same amount of money.
Or even play money?
Even play money, it could very well be, yes. But majority of the time, it's paper.
Southsider Polly Ballard was bilked out of $9,000 through a pigeon drop and a follow-up con where two men posing as cops came to her home claiming they were investigating her case.
Don't never take their advice that they found something or other, because it ain't nothing that they don't find. Nothing but a bunch of paper they have in that thing in a ball or something. And they's conging you right then. You don't have sense enough to know it.
Any way the human mind can devise to make money, the human mind can devise a way to steal money. For instance, we prosecuted a case in this office where a woman paid $30,000 to have, essentially to have a new toilet put in.
Tomorrow we'll tell you about a Chicago woman who acted as a good Samaritan, only to be bilked out of $1,000. John Drummond, Channel 2 News.
The Chicago Police Department offers monthly seminars to help people spot con men and their games. You can get more information on those seminars from the Community Relations Officer at your local police district.
The Supreme Court plans to rule this summer on a federal law banning flag burning. The justices heard arguments today about patriotism and freedom of expression. If the law is struck down, sponsors may seek a constitutional amendment to outlaw flag desecration. Stock prices hit a new record high today on Wall Street as interest rates continued to ease. The Dow Jones Industrials rose 1995 to close just above 2821. That surpasses the previous peak by about 11 points. The Dow has gained more than 176 points in the past 2 weeks.
Is confidence back? Well, the stock market has been the big business news for the past few days on television and in the newspapers. But we've also been covering another kind of business, government business, and it's the subject tonight of Walter's Perspective.
Watch the news for any period of time or read the papers, and you surely believe that government business is by far the best business. There are so many people trying to get in on it. Think of all the stories you've heard about the million-dollar contracts being signed in Springfield or in City Hall. There are people in Chicago getting rich on those contracts. Salvatore Manzo is not one of them. On the contrary, Manzo's getting poor on his city contract. His is a story about how to lose money on a contract. He punches up the numbers and sees what he's losing. $5,672.40. Now, that's not a huge amount. In fact, it's nothing to the city, but it's due to Salvatore Manzo. Net due from the city, $5,672.40, and it has been due now for almost a year. Mr. Manzo's business is Reby Allied Van Lines, moving and storage on Clark Street. And it was in good faith that Reby provided space in storage for 11,000 pounds of belongings of a city official who needed to leave the things while finding a new place to live. His name is Anthony Gibbs, transferred to the Chicago Office of Intergovernmental Affairs in Washington, D.C. City Hall hired Reby with all the contract documents and letters that say the city will be responsible for the remaining balance of $5,672.40 for storage and moving. Please direct the final billing to the office of the mayor. That was on April 6, 1989, and Reby's been directing the billing ever since and calling in there and asking, and the answer is always the same. The city won't pay it. We're not responsible. We're a new administration. So sue us, which is what Salvatore Manzo now has to do for $108 on top of the $5,672. That's the cost of filing the suit. Next, of course, will be the cost of the lawyers in court, and the lawyers for the city, and the judge, and the bailiffs, and the backlog in the court. For $5,672, the new administration will cost Reby and us who knows how many thousands more. Oh, for the days of an old administration.
The water just won't go away in parts of the South, and there's more rain heading our way. We'll have the details after a break.
And later, Sylvester Stallone talks with Gene Siskel at the Cannes Film Festival about his latest Rocky movie. And a trip to the races, the camel races. It's all coming up.
For 2 weeks only at Olson Rug Company, you can buy 1 yard of carpet and get the next yard free.
And that's just one good reason to get your new carpet from Olson Rug. You'll also have the most colors and styles to choose from anywhere in Chicago.
From a special selection with features like Stainmaster and trackless styling. Then, Olson Rug backs every installed carpet with our 15-year limited warranty.
There's every good reason to get your new carpet from Olson Rug.
Getting 1 yard free for every yard you buy is just the half of